"Sir, are you my new daddy?" the girl whispered at the hospital lobby, unaware the CEO just lost his own child. The words echoed down the empty hospital corridor like an unexpected blow. Outside, rain tapped steadily against the glass walls. Inside, the fluorescent lights cast a cold white glare on the linoleum floors and rows of vacant chairs. Tyler Hayes, age 34, CEO in the medical technology industry, stood frozen mid-stride, breath caught. He had arrived that afternoon to finalize the organs donation of his 5-year-old daughter, Sophie, who had died in a car accident 2 weeks before. Now, with paperwork complete and his signature drawing on the forms, he wandered aimlessly into the nearly deserted hallway, feeling emptiness swirl in his chest, where grief and guilt mingled. A brief flashback came unbidden. Sophie's 5th birthday, a year ago. Tyler had missed it for an urgent board meeting. Sophie had waited by candlelight in their kitchen, clutching a pink cupcake, whispering, "Daddy will come soon," until she fell asleep. Tyler remembered the ache when he came home too late. Her cake untouched, her drawing of him with a crown untouched. He had told himself he would never let her down again. Now he had lost her forever. He waited, staring at his reflection in the window, his face pale, sharp suit too crisp to feel real, eyes hollow. That was when a small presence approached. Lucy, a 4-year-old girl with golden hair tied in a messy ponytail, wearing a hospital gown patterned with cartoon hearts, stepped forward. She clutched a small teddy bear against her chest. The strap of an IV line trailed behind her. Tyler watched, confused, as she tugged gently on the sleeve of his jacket. "Sir, are you my new daddy?" she asked again, whisper sweet but firm. Tyler looked down, blinking against the sudden intensity of her gaze. Her eyes were wide, trusting, vulnerable. He felt something tighten in his throat. He was a stranger to her, a man whose world had collapsed. Why did her words feel like a mirror reflecting his own broken heart? "I do not know," he whispered, voice raw. He glanced around, the corridor silent, no nurses, no family, only the soft hum of distant monitors. The little girl smiled with unshaken confidence. She placed a tiny hand over her chest, over her heart. "My new heart beats when you're near," she declared with a gentle certainty. It was as if she had pressed a finger directly to his chest. Tyler watched her small lips form the words, watched her press her palm gently over her hospital gown, over the skin where a transplanted heart beat the survival rhythm of another life. He felt breathless. Grief rose up like a wave, fierce and immediate. He closed his eyes, resisting tears, but everything around him blurred, and suddenly he stood taller, his chest aching with sudden life. This girl had no idea whose heart she was speaking of, but he knew. He knew she carried within her the heart of Sophie. He inhaled, exhaled. His eyes flicked back to her. The light in her face was simple, innocent, and his entire world tipped. He barely managed to step forward, but she simply grinned again. He wanted to ask questions, to understand, to make sense of this impossible link, but words failed him. Every pulse in his body felt tethered to hers. He swallowed hard, hesitated, then reached out. He knelt slowly beside her, folding his suit jacket carefully on a nearby bench. He lowered himself to his knees until he was level with her height. Her gaze remained fixed on his. He took a small breath and said, voice catching, "When you smile at me, I feel something I thought I had lost." She blinked, tilting her head. "That's my heart. It just knows." A sob threatened to break free. Tyler clenched his jaw tight against the tremor. He placed one hand gently over hers. Their eyes met. An adult man broken by loss, and a little girl healed by a heart that once belonged to someone he loved most in the world. He looked past her, down the corridor, then back. He did not rise. He could not. He simply remained kneeling, hand clasped in hers. The rain slowed, the lights continued their steady hum. and an unbearable tenderness filled his chest. For the first time in 2 weeks, grief and grace mingled, and he understood that life had a strange, tender way of connecting what grief had torn apart. He felt tears spill, quiet, steady. He did not wipe them. He leaned forward, voice barely above a whisper. "Thank you for reminding me." She blinked and smiled, free of confusion or burden. She tilted her head again, pressed her small hand over his palm. Within him something shifted. This hallway, this rainy afternoon, this question from a 4-year-old he had never met, had opened a door in his heart. He remained kneeling in the pale hospital light, not knowing what would come next, but knowing he could not walk away. Emma's breath caught as she turned the corner, into the quiet corridor of the pediatric wing. Her rubber-soled shoes squeaked slightly on the polished floor, and the cleaning cart she had abandoned minutes ago still sat near the elevator. She had stepped away for only a moment to grab new gloves, and when she returned, her daughter's bed was empty. Panic had seized her chest. Now, as she approached, her eyes fixed on the scene ahead. A man in a tailored shirt, kneeling beside her 4-year-old daughter, their hands joined in quiet stillness. "Lucy," she called, voice sharp, urgent. The little girl turned, unbothered. "Hi, Mommy, this is my new friend. He has kind eyes." Emma's gaze darted to the man. He rose slowly, hands lifted in a gesture of peace. "I'm sorry," he said, his voice low, almost apologetic. "She came up to me. I didn't mean to frighten anyone." Emma's hand instinctively wrapped around Lucy's shoulder. "Are you all right, sweetheart?" Lucy nodded. "He was just listening. I told him my new heart likes him." The words, simple and strange, made Emma blink. She turned to the man again. His eyes were tired, red-rimmed, yet unmistakably gentle. "I'm Tyler Hayes," he said. "I was just," he hesitated, "visiting someone." Emma stiffened at the name. She knew it. Everyone at the hospital did. Tyler Hayes, CEO of the biomedical firm that funded a wing of this very hospital. The man was practically royalty here. He was known for boardroom decisions, clinical brilliance, and an empire of innovation, not hallway conversations with sick children. She straightened her posture. "I'm sorry if she bothered you. Lucy's very friendly." "She did not bother me," Tyler said softly. Emma offered a small, polite smile, but she could feel the old tension settling behind her ribs. People like him were not meant to linger in her world. Her eyes dropped briefly to his sleeves, rolled neatly to the elbow, no jacket, no tie. He did not look like a CEO. He looked human. But she reminded herself that even kindness from people like him came with limits. Flashback flickered in her mind. 4 years ago, bald from chemotherapy, standing at a hospital window with Lucy in her arms, begging for a medication she could not afford. A well-dressed doctor had barely looked at her. "Charity funds are full," he had said, before turning away without another glance. People like him dropped kindness like coins, she thought, and left before you knew how to spend it. Still, there was something different in the way this man crouched beside Lucy, the way his voice softened like he was trying not to break. "I should get her back to bed," Emma said quickly, brushing a hand over Lucy's hair. But before she could usher her daughter away, Lucy reached up and grabbed Tyler's hand again. "He said he feels something when I smile, like his heart remembers me." Emma looked between them. "That's very poetic of you, Lucy." Tyler gave a soft, almost broken laugh. "It's not her poetry, it's her truth." There was a pause, heavy but not cold. Emma nodded once. "Thank you for keeping her company. She's been through a lot." "So have I," Tyler murmured. Their eyes met again, and for a fleeting second neither looked away. Emma saw something raw in him, too raw to fake. She gave him a nod, more sincere this time. "Come on, sweetheart," she said, taking Lucy's hand. As they walked away, Emma glanced back once. Tyler still stood there, hands in his pockets, staring at the spot where Lucy had been. She felt the stir of something unnamed in her chest. Not attraction, not trust, just the feeling that this man had not come into their lives by accident. The next time Tyler saw them, it was in the small hospital garden behind the pediatric wing. Emma was sitting on a bench, Lucy curled up beside her, drawing something with a stubby crayon on a clipboard. The air smelled of rain and roses, and everything seemed too quiet for the weight inside Tyler's chest. Emma looked up as he approached. This time her smile came quicker, though it still held a hint of caution. "She insisted on sunshine today," Emma said softly, even if it's filtered through clouds. Tyler crouched down to Lucy's level. "What are you drawing?" She lifted the board. A heart. Bright red, too big for the paper. Inside, 3 stick figures holding hands. "That's me, Mommy, and my heart friend," she said proudly. "The girl who gave me her beat." Tyler froze. He looked up at Emma. "She says that sometimes," Emma explained. "Ever since the transplant, like the heart talks to her." He nodded slowly. "You ever tell her about the donor?" Emma's face darkened just slightly. "They won't tell us who it was, just that it came from a child, female, same age, same blood type. It was a miracle," her voice caught. "The call came at 2:08 a.m. I still remember the sound of the phone before I even picked it up. I just knew." Tyler's stomach turned. He felt the first sting behind his eyes. "That was 2 weeks ago?" Emma nodded. "February 18th. Tyler did not speak. His mind raced backward. Sophie, the accident, the moment the doctors told him there was nothing they could do. The slow, breathless hours that followed. The consent form his ex-wife had left behind. Sophie was an organ donor. It was the only thing they had ever agreed on. He stared down at Lucy. She was humming now, her tiny foot swinging under the bench. His heart ached with a memory of another child who used to do the same thing, exactly the same. Sophie. That night, Tyler sat in his car long after the sky had turned black. The hospital parking lot was mostly empty. He opened his laptop with shaking hands, typed in his access code, and pulled up the internal transplant log. He stared at the list of recipients. One name. Lucille Jane Carter, 4 years old. Blood type O. Transplant date February 19th. The donor, Sophie Elise Hayes, age 5. He read it over and over, as if the letters would change. As if the truth might soften somehow. It did not. Tyler leaned back in the seat, breath ragged. His hand went to his chest. Not to check his own heart, but to anchor himself. She's alive, not Sophie, but something of her, someone. He let his head fall back, eyes toward the ceiling of the car. The tears came fast, unexpected, unstoppable. Not because he was mourning again, but because he was not. He had cried for Sophie every night, but this was different. This was not a goodbye. This was something else. A beginning. He pictured Lucy's hand over her chest. "My new heart beats when you're near." It had not been a coincidence. It had been Sophie. Choosing to live on, not just anywhere, but with someone who needed her most. A girl who smiled like sunlight through storm clouds. Tyler wiped his face, but the tears kept falling. Because for the first time in weeks, he was not just grieving, he was grateful. Tyler returned to the hospital under the guise of reviewing development plans. The truth was simpler and far more complicated. He needed to see Lucy. Every time he walked through the pediatric wing, his steps slowed when he reached room 4C. That was where she stayed. That was where Sophie's heart beat now. The nurses had started greeting him by name. One even asked if he was Emma's brother. He did not correct them. Lucy always lit up when she saw him. "Mr. Nice," she'd squeal, running, waddling, into his arms, her post-op energy still limited but growing every day. He began bringing small things. A coloring book, a toy tea set. Once, a stuffed animal with floppy ears and a pink bow. "This was my daughter's," he said softly, placing it on Lucy's bed. She called her Pancake. Lucy clutched it immediately. She has a warm smell. Emma was in the doorway, holding a laundry bag. Her eyes caught the exchange, and for a moment she froze. She watched as Lucy began humming, softly, sweetly, the same tune Sophie used to sing before bed. Emma stepped back into the hallway, one hand over her mouth. Tears slid down silently. She had never taught Lucy that melody. Later that night, she stood by the hospital vending machine, watching the rain streak the window. She thought of Tyler's visits, how he knelt beside Lucy when he spoke to her, how he never looked at his phone when he was there, how he seemed real, and that scared her. He was rich, he was powerful. He did not belong to her world, but somehow he belonged in that room. She clutched the collar of her uniform tighter, a memory surfacing, a day years ago when she had come to this hospital seeking help, broke, terrified, with her cancer diagnosis still echoing in her ears. A doctor, clean-shaven, expensive watch, smile too tight, had looked at her chart and said, "We're not a charity." She had never forgotten that. Now she looked at Tyler and thought, men like him don't stay. They drop kindness like coins and leave before we know how to spend it. Inside her chest, something fluttered. Was it fear? Hope? Lucy giggled behind the door, and Emma's grip on her keys loosened. What if he stayed? What if he didn't? That night she watched Tyler through the glass of Lucy's room as he helped her color inside the lines of a princess gown. He was not wearing a suit, just a gray sweater and jeans. At one point he looked up and saw her watching. He smiled. Emma looked away. She returned to find Lucy asleep, Pancake tucked under her chin. Tyler stood. "I should go." Emma nodded, unsure if she wanted him to. At the door he paused, reached into his coat, and handed her a folded sheet of paper. "I found this. Sophie drew it once. I thought maybe Lucy would like it." She took it, 3 stick figures holding hands under a rainbow, one of them with blonde curls and a crown. When he left, Emma sat by Lucy's bed and traced the crayon lines with her finger. She whispered into the silence, "Please don't let him break her heart, or mine." Rain tapped against the hospital windows, like a clock counting down a moment Tyler had dreaded and longed for in equal measure. In his room, the sadness and misery from the memory of the fall further impacted any emotion. He had asked Emma to meet him in the corridor on the 5th floor, an older wing where no patients stayed and the lights flickered with age. It was quiet there, too quiet. He stood with his back to the window, hands folded, the weight of what he was about to say pressing against his chest like gravity had doubled. When Emma appeared, her face wore the guarded politeness she always kept around him now, but there was something beneath it, confusion, weariness, a flicker of trust she had not extinguished completely. "Is Lucy okay?" she asked, worry flashing across her features. "She's fine," he said quickly. "It's not that, it's... I need to tell you something." She stopped a few feet away, brows knitting. "What is it?" Tyler placed his hand on his chest, as if steadying the words. "Lucy, she has Sophie's heart." Emma did not move. At first, it was as if the sentence had not landed, but then her eyes widened and she stepped back. She looked like she had just heard the world was ending, not in an explosion, but in a slow, silent unraveling. "No," she whispered. "You mean..." He nodded. "The match, the date, the donor. It was Sophie." Emma's hands came up to her mouth. She blinked fast, shaking her head, as if trying to wake from a dream that had gone suddenly, cruelly real. She let out a breath, shaky and quiet. "All this time..." Her voice trailed off. Tyler waited for the gratitude, for the hug, for the tearful thank you. Instead, she stared at him, eyes hardening. "Is that why you're here?" she said. "All this time, was it because you see her in my child?" Tyler opened his mouth, but nothing came out. Emma's voice rose, the hurt cracking through. "You're not here for Lucy. You're here for Sophie. You're here for a ghost." "That's not true," Tyler began. "You called her Sophie," Emma interrupted, "2 nights ago, when you hugged her. You whispered her name." His breath caught. Emma kept going, like a dam had broken. "You set up a trust fund. You offered to pay for her school. You show up like it's your right. And I was so grateful. I didn't see it." She shook her head, the fear taking shape. "You're powerful, rich, connected. What if one day you decide she belongs to you? What if I lose her, again, because you think her heart makes her yours?" "Emma," Tyler said, stepping forward, "please." "No." She stepped back. "You lost your daughter. I'm sorry. I am. But I can't let that loss swallow mine." Just then, a small voice broke the air. Lucy stood in the hallway behind them, holding her stuffed bear by one arm. Her hospital socks made no sound as she padded closer. "Am I not good enough for my new heart?" she asked, barely above a whisper. Emma froze. Tyler turned slowly. Lucy's lip quivered. "You're mad because of me." Tyler dropped to his knees, arms outstretched. Lucy walked into them. He held her tightly, pressing her to his chest, his voice cracking like ice under weight. "No, sweetheart, no. You're the only reason it still beats. Do you hear me? You're the only reason I'm still standing." Emma stood by, trembling. The hallway spun in her vision. She wanted to reach for her daughter, to pull her away and protect her from the complicated grief pressing in from both sides. But she could not move. Because the man holding her child was not trying to replace anyone. He was just trying not to disappear. Emma avoided him. She swapped night shifts, opted for daylight hours, declined his patient-friendly smile in the hallway, and rearranged Lucy's follow-up appointments to sessions before Tyler could possibly arrive. Every time she saw his name flash on her phone screen or a nurse whisper that he had been hovering somewhere nearby, she felt a tightening in her chest. She told herself she was protecting her daughter, keeping things simple, creating breathing space where Lucy could heal without any confusing complexities. But the space became silence, and silence weighed heavy on a little girl's spirit. Where once Lucy clapped her hands at the sight of Mr. Nice, now she sat quietly by the window, her bear in lap, eyes distant as the hospital grounds blurred below. Her appetite disappeared. Soup untouched, jelly left to settle at the bottom of her cup. Nights grew long and restless. She woke often clutching her stuffed bear, whispering his name into the darkness. "Mr. Nice?" One evening, as Emma bent over Lucy's little pink sink basin, guiding her toothbrush gently across small teeth, Lucy paused and looked up into her eyes with sudden seriousness. "Did Mr. Nice go away because of my question?" she asked, voice trembling as though afraid of the answer. Emma froze, toothbrush still in hand. She swallowed. "No, sweetheart," she said carefully, tucking stray golden curls behind Lucy's ear. "Sometimes grown-ups just need time." Lucy nodded, but her eyes dimmed. Emma wiped her daughter's lips, searching for the brightness that once lived there, but it felt extinguished under the strain of unanswered questions and absent presence. That night, after tucking Lucy in bed, Emma went to unpack her daughter's overnight bag. As she respected the modest order of toys and pajamas, something caught her breath. A worn envelope, tucked gently beneath Lucy's small scarf, corner softened by time. On its front, in flowing but shaky handwriting, she read, "To Sophie, from Dad." Emma's fingers paused mid-air. The room darkened into stillness except for the soft sound of Lucy's breathing and the faint hum of unfamiliar machines. A small desk lamp cast a pool of golden light across the carpet. She sat beside Lucy, heart pounding, the envelope cradled gently in her hands. With trembling fingers, she peeled it open. The letter inside, folded with care, held words that felt too weighty for such small paper. The ink had bled where tears had once blurred the lines. Emma read, "Dear Sophie, someone is smiling today because of you. She laughs like you. She loves like you. Her eyes are different, but they shine just the same. She makes me remember what joy feels like and what it means to hold a hand that still believes in tomorrow. Thank you for being my light, even when I'm lost in the dark. Love, Dad." Emma's breath caught. Her vision blurred while warmth rose behind her eyelids. She looked at her daughter, curled in sleep, the bear clasped between her little fingers, one arm draped across her chest. Lucy's chest rose and fell, the slow, steady cadence of a heart beating in a body she called hers now. In that moment, Emma saw not a borrowed life, not a tragic coincidence, but something entrusted. Not taken, entrusted. She folded the letter gently and clutched it to her chest. She sat in the dim glow, the shadows quiet on the walls, and allowed her heart to shift. The anger and fear still tugged at her edges, but beneath them stirred something she had long abandoned: understanding. Tyler wasn't here to replace anyone. He didn't want to claim her daughter. He was trying to breathe, holding on to something of Sophie by caring for Lucy, not by owning her. Emma stood, stepping toward the bed, and checked Lucy's forehead. Still warm, still hers in every way that mattered. She dipped a cloth in warm water and pressed it gently to Lucy's brow. Leaning down, she whispered just loud enough for Lucy to hear, "He's hurting too, baby, and maybe he needs us the way we need him." It was not surrender. It was a moment of choosing. Choosing trust over fear, connection over solitude. She still feared the privileges he carried, the wealth, the name, the shadows of grief he carried so openly. She still feared losing her daughter again, in some way she couldn't control, but in that quiet hospital room, lit only by memory and one trembling yellow lamp, Emma let herself feel something she had thought impossible: hope. Not rescue, not a fairy tale ending, a fragile, honest beginning. A fragile, honest beginning. Hope that grief could coexist with love. Hope that a man's heartbreak could bring healing, not harm. Hope that a heart, once broken, could beat again in unexpected ways. It was a Tuesday evening when Tyler received the message. Simple, direct, dinner with us, just us. It came from Emma's number. No explanation, no emoji, just a fragile invitation wrapped in digital silence. He stared at the screen for a long moment before typing back, "I'd like that. Thank you." Now, as he stood outside Emma's small apartment on the edge of the city, holding a modest bag of groceries and a bouquet of daisies, the kind Sophie once called happy flowers, he felt more nervous than he had in any boardroom. The door opened before he knocked. Emma stood there in a soft sweater, her blonde hair pulled loosely back. Her face held the remnants of worry, but also something else: resolve. "Hi," he replied, stepping aside. "Hi," he replied, stepping in. Lucy ran out from the hallway, barefoot and in her pajamas. "You came," she shouted, launching herself into his arms. He caught her easily, holding her close as her little arms wrapped around his neck. Her heartbeat fluttered against his chest, small but steady. "I missed you," she whispered. He kissed her forehead. "I missed you too, Princess." Dinner was simple. Chicken soup, bread rolls, and apples sliced thin. But it felt like a feast. Lucy chattered endlessly about a drawing she made, about how the soup was extra soupy, and how the bear now slept on her left because her heart was busy on the right. Emma mostly listened, eyes flickering between the two with a quiet blend of caution and gratitude. After dinner, Lucy disappeared into her room, announcing she had a surprise. Tyler helped clear the table while Emma wiped down the counter. For a few minutes, there was only the sound of dishes and breathing and the occasional creak of the old apartment floorboards. Then Lucy returned, holding a sheet of paper with both hands. She presented it like treasure. "I made this today," she said. "It's us." The drawing was wobbly, colorful, and full of joy. 3 stick figures holding hands under a purple sky filled with stars. Above the smallest figure was a heart. Above them all were 2 stars, one labeled Sophie, the other us. Tyler's hands shook as he took it. Emma glanced sideways, watching his face. His eyes were glassy. His jaw clenched slightly. He knelt, meeting Lucy at eye level. "This is beautiful," he whispered. "You gave us both a sky." Lucy nodded solemnly. "Everyone needs a place to shine." He looked up at Emma, who met his gaze and did not look away. "I thought I came here to say goodbye," he said softly, "but maybe I came here to start again." Emma stepped closer. Her hand brushed the edge of the drawing, her fingers almost touching his. "I don't know where this is going," she admitted, voice quiet. "I still have fears." "You're from another world." "Well, I'm just a man," he said, "who lost everything and somehow found a little heartbeat to believe in again." Lucy wrapped her arms around both of them, pressing her cheek into their joined hands. Emma reached out and touched his arm. "Then maybe," she said, "we start small, with soup and drawings and being there." He nodded, his hand covering hers. Outside, the city buzzed and blinked. Inside, a quiet formed. Not silence, but the kind of stillness that only comes when pain begins to make room for hope. And 3 people stood beneath 2 drawn stars, one lost and one found. The apartment buzzed with quiet excitement. Streamers hung unevenly along the kitchen doorway. Balloons bobbed lazily from cabinet handles. The scent of vanilla cake filled the air. Emma stood at the counter, frosting a small heart-shaped cake. Her hands were steady, but her eyes brimmed with emotion. 5 candles, one for each year, one for each miracle. Lucy burst from her room in a pink dress too big for her frame, a cardboard crown sliding over her blonde curls. She twirled once, then ran straight into Tyler's arms. "Am I princess enough?" she asked. He lifted her easily, spinning her in a circle. "You're the queen of all hearts, even broken ones," she asked. He smiled. "Especially those." Emma watched from the side, wiping her hands on a towel, her gaze soft and full. Tyler set Lucy down and nodded toward the cake. "Ready to make a wish?" Lucy climbed onto the chair, her tiny hands gripping the edge of the table. The cake sat waiting, 5 candles flickering gently. Across the top, in careful icing script, it read, "To the girl with the heart of gold." Tyler crouched beside her, arm around her waist. Emma stood behind, resting her hands on her daughter's shoulders. Lucy leaned close to Tyler's ear and whispered something only he could hear. "You're not my new daddy," she said. "You're my forever one." His breath caught. He turned to her, eyes wide. "Forever?" She nodded seriously. "Forever's longer than always, right?" He kissed the top of her head. "Yes, much longer." Emma stepped forward, her arms encircling both of them. Her head rested against Tyler's shoulder. And there, in a simple apartment with mismatched balloons and crooked decorations, she felt her world align. Tyler looked at Emma. "Thank you," he whispered. She shook her head. "No, thank you. For showing up, for staying," Lucy giggled, breaking the moment. "I need to blow candles now." "Wait," she said suddenly. "I want to light them." She took the lighter from the counter and carefully, with hands steadied by purpose, lit each candle one by one. Then she closed her eyes, breathed deep and whispered, "This time, I light it for you, Sophie." She blew out the candles in one soft gust. The smoke curled gently into the air like a prayer carried upward. Tyler reached into his pocket and pulled out a locket. Inside was a picture of Sophie smiling beneath a tree in full bloom. He opened the locket and placed it gently next to the cake. "Happy birthday, Lucy," he said, "and thank you, Sophie." The night ended in warmth, in laughter, in something deeper than joy, something like peace. The next morning, golden sunlight spilled through the windows as Tyler knelt to tie Lucy's shoes. Emma packed a small lunch, humming softly. Outside, the sidewalk gleamed with dew. A school bus turned the corner. Tyler held Lucy's hand, walking her to the gate. Emma followed, her fingers brushing Tyler's as they walked side by side. At the gate, Lucy turned back, waved, and shouted, "Don't forget to smile today." Tyler waved back. "Only if you do first." Emma leaned in and took Tyler's hand fully this time, her thumb tracing the top of his knuckles. "You okay?" she asked. He looked at her, then back at the little girl with the golden heart now skipping into the schoolyard. "I am now," he said, and as the morning sun rose over the city, casting long, warm shadows across their feet, it touched three people bound not by blood, but by a love born from loss and reborn in light. A family where once there was only ache. If this story touched your heart, reminded you that love can rise from the ashes of grief, and that sometimes the most broken hearts beat with the most beautiful rhythms, then you belong here with us. At Soul Stirring Stories, we share real and fictional tales of resilience, connection, and healing. The kind of stories that make you cry, then leave you whole. Subscribe to our channel so you never miss a story that might change the way you see the world. Turn on the notification bell, because the next story might be the one you needed most. Thank you for watching, and remember, even in loss, love finds its way back.